If you could live rent-free in someone's mind, would you do it? Because that's exactly what persuasion masters do. Not through looks, money, or charm, but through psychology. This isn't about love or manipulation. It's about neural imprinting, how a single interaction can rewire someone's attention loop, until their mind keeps coming back to you, again and again, without knowing why. The secret isn't attraction, it's conditioning. Every time someone feels a strong emotion while you're present, curiosity, tension, relief, laughter, their brain ties that emotion to you. You become the shortcut to that feeling. That's the mechanism behind emotional anchoring, one of the most underestimated tools in dark psychology. Think about it. If someone consistently feels alive, seen, or challenged when you're around, their mind doesn't crave you, it craves the state you trigger. That's why obsession feels like addiction. The person isn't chasing the person, they're chasing the chemical pattern your presence creates. So how do you control that? By controlling your emotional signature. People who make others obsessed with them know how to generate emotional spikes, moments that stand out from the noise. It's not about being constantly exciting. That creates fatigue. It's about creating a rhythm of unpredictability, where the brain never quite knows what to expect next. Uncertainty fuels focus. When you combine that with what psychologists call intermittent reinforcement, the effect becomes almost impossible to break. Sometimes you're attentive, sometimes detached, sometimes you challenge, sometimes you validate. That irregular pattern keeps the brain scanning for your next signal. And here's the part no one talks about. The more the brain works to predict you, the deeper you sink into its memory. That's because cognitive effort equals attachment. When people invest mental energy trying to figure you out, they're literally training their neurons to think of you on repeat. But there's a limit. Push too far and you create frustration instead of fascination. So the trick isn't playing hard to get, it's playing hard to decode. You stay emotionally readable enough to be trusted, yet unpredictable enough to be fascinating. Now that you understand the psychological frame, let's dig into the behavior itself. What you can actually do in conversation, tone, and timing to trigger this attachment response naturally. Because once you know how to anchor emotion the right way, obsession stops being accidental. It becomes engineered. Stay with me. What comes next will change how you think about attraction forever. So how do you make it real, not theoretical? Start by mastering emotional calibration. Most people think obsession comes from giving more attention, more validation, more energy. But it's the opposite. Obsession grows in the gaps, in the spaces you leave for the other mind to fill. When you give someone your full attention, pause before replying. Let silence do the work. Their brain will rush to complete the moment, and that's how emotional imprinting deepens. Every second of anticipation releases dopamine, and dopamine doesn't bond with logic, it bonds with you. Then use contrast. Show warmth right after distance, confidence after calm, humor after depth. The shift is what the brain memorizes, not the emotion itself, but the change. Predictability relaxes the mind. Contrast keeps it awake. Here's the paradox. People don't obsess over what's clear. They obsess over what's almost understood. Leave just enough ambiguity for their imagination to do half the work. When someone starts imagining your intentions, they're already emotionally invested. Because the human brain can't tolerate unfinished patterns, it craves closure. And if you never quite give it, you become the open loop. Though, here's an important note. These same mechanisms are used against you every day, in ads, conversations, even relationships. The real power lies in recognizing when someone is anchoring emotion, building contrast, or creating uncertainty. So, you decide whether to stay in the game or step out of it. In next videos, I'll show you how to handle the situation when you notice someone is trying to manipulate your emotions. Now that you have the knowledge to recognize it, you will be surprised how easy and entertaining it can be to turn that game against them. But let's get back to what we were dealing with. Here's the twist that most people miss. The ultimate form of influence isn't making someone obsessed with you. It's making them obsessed with how they feel around you. That's why true persuasion isn't loud, it's invisible. You don't force thoughts into someone's head. You guide their emotional rhythm until thinking of you feels like thinking of themselves. And once that happens, they won't know where you end and they begin. That's the fine line between fascination and manipulation, the line this video just made you aware of. If you want to understand how these patterns work, how the human mind builds emotional dependencies without realizing it, hit subscribe, because the next video will take you one layer deeper: the psychology of emotional addiction and how to break free from it before it starts controlling you.